con artists of Reddit. What is the most successful scam you have pulled? In 11th grade I sold a classmate my PC version of Halo Combat Evolved. He asked me the next day about a registration key and asked if that was because he was using a Dell. I told him yes. I sold the school fundraiser chocolate bars for $2 a piece, normally $1 each, and ate half a box. Here is a lesson for you youngins. Selling candy in school is lucrative. Take your money and invest it in candy and sell it for like 3 or 4 times the original cost. I sold the parking permits at the school. They drug tested kids for parking passes. No one checked the logs of the cash. They sold for $50 a semester and they had unlimited passes. My competitors sold photocopied passes with no legit records for $80. I got $150 for a legit pass and records to back it up. They caught and expelled my competitor and I made about $5K that year. I am no con artist, but there was time many years back when I had no choice but to run a con. If I didn't run this con, me and my friend would have never enjoyed as much Taco Bell as we did. I went to a small college in the far north. There was a guy who used to hang at the edge of our group who talked constantly about loving drugs, Hunter S, etc. There were few drugs around to be had, but we would take a few of the vitamin C's we had in our dorm room and occasionally sell them to Phil for a few bucks a pop, claiming they were Vicodin. Then go get Taco Bell. Our master caper was one night we needed a lot of Chinese food, so we ground up all the baby laxative that my roommate had been given by his mother because his tummy was off, and sold it to Phil as blue sea as the chopped up pills were blue. That was some great Chinese food and only ran us $40. Phil later reported he had been up for days on a coke binge. I imagine he was up for at least some reasons. 10/10 would sell Phil drugs again. His immune system rocked and he was regular. Imagine if Phil then went to an actual dealer after you stopped supplying him, and he tried real coke thinking he would experience what he did with the vitamin C or the laxative. That would be one heck of a ride. I convinced 3 kids I got duped into babysitting that I was Santa disguised as a regular guy, and I was putting together a good bad list to get them to be good and leave me alone until their dad got home. Throwaway for obvious reasons. It all started on IMVU. Some of you might know about this site. It's a chat room for teens and adults. You get a little avatar. I had bad luck on this site. I was around 14 and I decided to make a female avatar to trick guys into cybering with me, then make fun of them. Well, then I learned I kinda liked it. A few years go by and I'm doing it on a different site. This time I'm a 16-year-old girl, and I meet this man who wants to be financially dominated. I figure this is my lucky day and do so, making fun of his dong. And he starts buying me crap on Amazon and shipping it to my house. Honestly, I don't know how I got away with it, because I gave him my real name, saying it was the girl's boyfriend. He wanted to webcam, but obviously I couldn't do that. I had been photoshopping pictures of random girls to look like this person I was pretending, going so far as to put fake sticky notes with his name on them. Eventually we cut it off, because I was asking for too much money. I retired the girl and started using a different one. Lo and behold, he messages the new girl. It's insane. And somehow I get him to believe that I'm the original girl's cousin, and we'd been having an incestual relationship. He started buying more crap for a while, then we cut it off again. I don't do that anymore. I'll be on for a while to answer any questions. Edit. I'm going to bed. If this blows up, I'll answer any other questions after I wake up. I'll probably delete this account tomorrow. I will tell you a story. In the 1980s my country was ruled by a military regime headed by a general called Ibrahim Babangida, IB. A very brilliant and charismatic guy, but ruthless and totally amoral. For some reason Muammar Gaddafi of Libya got it into his head that IB Nigeria was a continental competitor and did everything to score points in this game of one-upmanship. So unheralded by the press, there existed a rivalry and cold war between the leaders of both nations. Enter the Nigerian prince. Not actually, but the predecessor of the fake half-assed variety you find on the internet today. These people were hardcore scammers, and one group led by a 30-something charismatic leader named Fred Ajudua came up with a plan. They put together some documents, and armed with a credible backstory that gave them fake identities as middle-level army officers, approached intermediaries who eventually set up a meeting with Gaddafi himself in Libya. They sold a plan to Gaddafi to overthrow the Nigerian junta and put in place a government headed by their group, which of course would be less hostile to Libyan interests and aspirations, much less hostile, as in vassal state level of cooperation. But to successfully remove an entrenched dictator like Abe, many arrangements had to be made. Weapons had to be purchased and key people bribed to look the other way. Yada yada. Gaddafi bought the idea and signed off the required amount in the millions of dollars. Stage 1 complete. But there was a problem. Did I mention Abe was a really bad mother? What would happen when his intelligence agents got wind of the plot? Fake or not, it would not bode well for anyone involved. Well, these guys were no fools and had a plan to deal with that too. They flew back to Nigeria and arranged an audience with the president where they confessed to everything and even presented the funds wired to them as evidence of loyalty. The president is so impressed with them that he not only allows them keep the money but also makes them a gift of his own for pulling one over his arch rival. If that is not bad, but then redefine the term. P.S. A guy I know was one of the conspirators. PPS save the Nigerian prince jokes. I've heard them all. That's actually a really good scam. I signed up as a bookseller with some smaller publishers so I can read the galleys for free before the books are published. I'm kinda late, so I dunno if this will get seen, but one time I was taking in video games to trade into GameStop, probably to buy weed at the time. I had a few whatever games and Mario Galaxy. The guy was scanning the games and asked the dudes behind me if they were looking for something. They responded with that and pointed at Mario Galaxy. The guy told them a used one was in 39 whatever cents. I told the guy I'll sell it to you right now for $40. The guy at GameStop told us to make the deal outside. Then I got weed. Some fool gave me gold for an utterly ludicrous and silly comment. I spend my Reddit career writing dozens, nay, hundreds, of thoughtful, intelligent, compassionate and reasoned responses to many people. Most of these go completely unnoticed. Sometimes it seems I am the only person to read them at all. But then I make one silly fart joke and get gold. This place is like a loony bin for humanity's random thoughts and feelings. A place where reason is drowned in impulse and the slow decay of madness grows huge and red. Reminds me of waiting for the perfect moments to bite into a badly inflamed pustule. I was probably in middle school and me and my friend were going to the movies. We bought 2 tickets, but before we could get into the theater I lost mine. So I took my friend's ticket and entered the theater and kept the ticket stub in my pocket. Then waited 5 minutes and went up to the ticketing guy and said that I lost my stub and I wanted to buy some popcorn. The snack area was outside the booth in this theater, and asked if he could just remember my face. He said okay, so I went outside, gave me friend the stub and bought some popcorn and enjoyed the movie. Guy tried to scam me out of $450 for a steering wheel I sold. So I scammed him, ended up with $450 from him anyways, and then sold it to someone else for $250. Also a texting kid rear-ended my car. Really all it really needed was a respray of the bumper cover. He was a pain in the butt the whole time, wanting to pay me under the table and only like $50. I own a body shop, so I just wrote up a ridiculous repair bill including using OEM parts, new bumper beam, cover, expensive paint, tons of labor, new exhaust that he dented too. Sorry, but when you hit someone's car, picking how their car gets repaired is not up to you. Not me, but a friend of mine in college would steal those 375ml plastic liquor bottles. Here's how he did it. He would go to the liquor store, stuff a 375ml bottle down his pants and then grab a bigger sized bottle, go to the cashier and use his debit card that has no money in it. Once the transaction has been declined, he would put on a sad face and give the cashier the bigger bottle and walk out of the store with the smaller bottle down his pants. Worked for 2 semesters. Back in the day, before cameras watching every move, I was a cashier at a restaurant. I wanted to be a waitress. That's where the real money was. Tips, but they said I was too good a cashier to move. Okay, no prob. I'll get my extra money a different way. The cashier was also in charge of selling baked goods from the display case. So I would sell the cookies, take the money, put it into the register, but not ring it up. Kept a running tally of the extra money in the till. But then, How to safely remove the extra cash from the till? Well, in a separate procedure, when a customer would add a tip onto their credit card, the cashier was to take the corresponding amount of cash out of the till, put it in a tiny manila envelope marked with the wait person's name, and give it to them at the end of the night. So, la-dee-da, toward the end of the night I would just take out all the extra cash from unrung cookies, put it in a manila envelope, mark it with a wait person's name, and put it with the other envelopes. At the end of the night, it stayed in my apron while all the other envelopes got handed out. I figured if I was ever caught with it, I could just say, "Oh, I meant to give this to wait person," but happily I was never caught. I taught my friend co-worker to do it, too, and the only problem that arose was when we worked the same shift. We'd argue about who got to steal that night. We only stole about $20 per shift, so that they wouldn't notice any substantial decrease in bakery sales. The extra cash and the brownies pilfered from the walk-in fridge. The job was good to me. Put my Benz on CL for $2,000. This tweaker calling himself Peter Parker shows up with $1,000 cash and asks, "Can I give you this grand now, then take the car and pay you later?" I said, "Frick no sir, but I'll gladly hold your grand while you get the rest and I'll give you the car once you return with the other grand." For some strange tweaker reason he agrees to this. I'm a good guy, for the most part, so I wait for him to return. Days go by and none of his phone numbers work except one, which is a motel an hour away. So I said frick it and put the car back on CL. I find a buyer and they pay me the $$, we agreed on and life goes on. I essentially sold the car twice. Flash forward about 50 days or so and I get a call from the cops saying some guy named Peter Parker has accused me of stealing his car and money. I flat out tell the cops the story and also inform them that the $1,000 is long gone because I never thought I'd hear from him again. They were like, well, is anything in writing? I say nope and the cops like, well ask him if he wants to take you to court over it, but as far as we're concerned you didn't steal anything. He gave you money and never got the car and it's history. Also we have problems with this guy all the time, so let's just move on. That was the end of it and I never heard from Peter Parker again or the cops or anyone. Used an old hack of World of Warcraft guild forms to get people's password to that website. They often used the same password for their email. Then you recovered their WoW account. Once you had the account, the fun started. You'd log in and start advertising you had the WoW trading card game Spectral Tiger card, which you could use to get an in-game mount. So people would start chatting you. You'd get 3-7 different chats going. Convince the buyer to pay you half before the trade. Then you'd work the rest of the crowd while telling anyone who's already paid you half you were taking a photo. Stall like heck to make some other trades. If you got lucky, the account you logged into had a few tens of thousands of gold. One account had 250k. Once people found out you were a fraud, you'd sell all the equipment and crap the account had for the extra gold. Go to a Chinese gold buying website and sell it off at $5/6/1000 gold. My friend did this throughout one summer and made enough money to buy a $6,000 car and then some. Not I, but my father-in-law created 1,000 email accounts and applied for the free $5 Kohl's cash online. He'd buy towels on sale, wait 2 weeks, return them when they go off sale with no receipt. He'd then get roughly $9 worth of store credit. From there he'd return towels with receipt and somehow get cash and USD. He made about $9k. Convinced a D1 national football program that my friend and I were reporters so we could watch the game on the field, then an open bar after party upstairs. At Walmart a couple months ago, I peeled a barcode sticker off a styrofoam ball, which was like $0.97, from the crafts section and placed it on a more expensive item and used the self-checkout. Back in the early years of self-checkout, Walmart was pretty lax with theft prevention. I would go to the home department and grab a big rug or maybe furniture that you put together. Then I would go to the kitchen department and peel one of the stickers off a cheap washcloth and stick it to the side of my hand. I would cover the merchandise UPC with the hand that had the sticker on it so it would only read the washcloth when I scanned it. Bought a 1 gig stick of RAM. Back when it was something to be proud of, and threw my old stick of 256 in the package. Looked almost exactly the same, and returned it to Walmart. My partner and I made an $80,000 phone bill go away without too much effort, one whopping lie, and some easily created documentation to back it up. The person in charge of collecting the debt had a soft spot, and we hit it hard. She should have sent it to an outside agency or their legal department, but she didn't. She kept listening, and we wore her down in a week. Well, I'm not proud of this, but here goes. While at university I would on Omegle, cam chat website, but have my camera turned off. I would tell old men that I was a 15-16-year-old girl and flirt with them a bit. Then offer to email them some pictures as my laptop webcam was broken. I would then Google their email address and usually find a Facebook or something similar. After that I would threaten to screenshot our conversation of them asking for pics of an underage girl, saying I would show it to their family if they didn't pay $50 or so into my PayPal. Worked quite a few times. I used the money to fuel my weed habit. Please don't try this at home. Let the record show I did not do this. However, I worked with people who did. Wait tables at a corporate restaurant that offered coupons in the newspaper every month. They drove around and bought all the newspapers from all over town on the days the coupons dropped. When a customer paid for dinner that applied to a coupon but didn't bring one, the waiter would apply their own coupon after the fact. The customer still paid the same price, but the corporation paid out for the coupon's value. This resulted in giant cash tips the company never knew about. When I was 7 I would go up to the service counter and tell them the vending machine ate my dollar. They would give me $1 back and I would spend it on a free Coke. Woo. I'm not really a con artist, but back in the day if we needed money we would dress up in basketball jerseys and hand out fake pamphlets asking for donations for our Christian basketball league because it was losing money. Then we would ask their name and write it down all official like. Made like $40 in 2 hours and smoked it all away. When I was younger I found a way to get paid $10 to $12 an hour to play and eat loads of cheese. In junior high and high school I was known in my suburban neighborhood and surrounding area for being a reliable and fun babysitter who was more than was willing to sit on Friday and Saturday nights. So much so that I usually was booked 2 months out. My suburb was known for ambitious transplants with money and I used it to my advantage. When booking me to babysit long evenings, most of the families would ask if I wanted any snacks and I would always tell them cheese. Pretty sure they all thought that was odd or weird request, but desperate parents usually don't ask questions, and when I was known for showing up on time and came highly recommended from their friends, 9/10 when I arrived on their doorstep, there would be cheese waiting for me in their fridge. All in all, everyone got what they wanted. Parents got a worry-free night out. The kids had a good time. I got tax-free salary and a crisper full of delicious. It wasn't really a scam, but I still felt like I was pulling one over on the parents. I freaking love cheese. When my husband was younger, like 19, he used to work at Target, and when he would help people to their car, he would make up a story and tell people he had a little daughter, that she was about to start kindergarten in the fall, etc. He actually got the occasional $20 bill cause people felt badly for him. And this is why people don't give money to people who actually need it. In elementary school we had a reading program that if we read a certain amount of time we would get prizes. In order to get the prizes you had to have your parents sign a slip that said that you did indeed read whatever amount of time you did. So one week what I did was I wrote down that I read like an hour during the week, which isn't a lot, and then I gave the slip for my mom to sign so I could turn it in. After my mom signed the slip I erased that I read an hour and wrote in something huge like I read 20 hours that week. The next day at school I have the slip to my teacher and the prize was one of those huge Hershey's Kisses. Totally worth it. Middle school. This was the late 80s early 90s, before cell phones, so there was always a line at the payphone in the commons area during lunch. One day I needed to use the phone, waited in line, plunked in my quarter, and nothing happened. Couldn't dial out, put in another, same thing. Went to the office and told them what happened. They said that sometimes if people put their money in and then tried to dial before the deposit registered, it would jam things up, and if you waited a few minutes without trying to use the phone, the money would get kicked back out in the coin return. But when it got jammed, people would still come and pour money in it and it would just sorta pile up in there. So, I always made sure to get to the payphone early during lunch and intentionally jam it. and then stick around and let other people plug more coins into it and then wait for it to kick back the coins after they'd given up and walked off. We used to lift vodka bottles from the supermarket. Then we'd half and half a bunch of those little grenade bottles of water. $8 bottle of vodka. And you'd get like 10 little watered down grenade bottles which could sell in high school for like 10-15 bucks. Rinse repeat. Winning a local supermarket coloring competition for 4-6-year-olds as a 11-year-old. I won a giant frog plush which I then sold for 20 bucks. Back in elementary school we had hot lunch tickets that your parents would buy at the beginning of every month. Being very scrupulous, my parents let me and my brothers pick one meal per month we wanted from the school, and we had to make our own lunches every other day of the month. I didn't like making my lunch when all my friends were eating chicken nuggets or Italian dunkers. Now in the lunch line, there was no security on the basket where you put your tickets. So I figured out I could just tap my closed fist on the basket so the tickets would jump, and open my fist like I dropped a ticket, and none of my classmates around me would notice I didn't actually drop one. Got a lot of free lunches that way, and the one time I got caught I just said I forgot my ticket at home and didn't have anything to eat and started crying. Still frickin' love Italian dunkers. Well, I sort of didn't mean to, but I was buying a food mixer. They had about 5 different versions at the store I was at. I put one in my cart and went up to customer service to ask about the differences and stuff. When I got up there, the lady said, "Are you returning?" So I was all, yes I am. $350 store credit. Bam. Going to heck. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.